Hey, so question 2 is just talking about a wee jigsaw, and again, they're just wanting you to calculate the length of the diagonal. So when you look at all the measurements and how it's laid out, hopefully you'll notice that there's a wee square there, so that's obviously a right angle triangle. So if you look opposite, we're actually looking at the longest side, and that's a hypotenuse. So what we'll be looking at is using this formula. Okay, so that's the one that will be given to you. So we're trying to calculate the longest side. We've got the two shorter sides. So is this a matter of putting these values into the formula and then just calculating it for C? Okay, so C is the longest side. So what we've got, C squared is equal to, I've just put A as this side and B is this side. Okay, so that's 65 squared plus 52 squared. Now, again, you just put these into the calculator. So 65 squared, and then you add a 52 squared. Okay, so what we've got is C squared equals 6929. Obviously we want to find out what C is, so C is the square root of 6929. Okay, so what we have is 6929, and that gives you the value of, I have to say, 83.2, and it's centimetres. Okay, so always keep an eye on the units. Now they're not asked for any decimal point places, so I'll just stick to 1. Okay, so that's your answer to question 2. Right, next one's actually, it's not too bad, it's just asking you to calculate from placing coordinates in this graph, and then we'll work out, and it's to 1 decimal place. Okay, so what we'll do is start just plotting these out. Okay, so that's A is 1, is 3, 1, B is 10, 10. And we're wanting to actually calculate this length, so I'll try and get something as a ruler. Okay, so we want to actually calculate this. Now, what we can do is we can then think about if we actually turn this into a right angle triangle, takes you to about there. Just do that there. Okay, we can work out the length of this part, and then just use a good old formula to then work out from A to B. So this is A, this is B. Okay, so what we've got is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is actually 7 squares. Now they've not given you any units, okay, so don't need to worry about that. B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, that's your right angle. So we're looking at actually calculating C, which is the length of A and B, and that's the longest length, that's the hypotenuse. So again, I'll just use this sheet, equals A squared plus B squared. Remember, it's to 1 decimal point, so 7 squared plus 9 squared. So C squared equals, so this should be 49 plus 81. Right, so that's 7 squared plus 9 squared, and that's 130. And again, you just then find the square root. Okay, so C equals the square root of 130. So if you then press the square root sign, type in 130. Remember, 1 decimal place, so that is 11.4. Okay, so that is your answer to 3, right? So that's 11.4. And last but not least, okay, so this one, again, it's an equilateral triangle and split up into 2 identical sized triangles. Okay, so this one big triangle has got 2 lengths the same, and we're just trying to calculate what each is. So what we've got is they're both 18, that's 18 there. So if we actually half this triangle, what we can work out, we can work out the height, but if we half it this way, we'll see if it's 18 altogether, okay, because remember, each length's the same in an equilateral triangle. Well, that must mean that's 9. and that must mean that's 9. So what we can do, if I get a pen, is we're essentially just using this triangle. Right, so we're just using this one there. Obviously, if we look, I've already got the longest side. Okay, so this is when we'll call this A, we'll call this B. Obviously, it's H, and that's C. So what we're looking at is using something such as b squared equals c squared minus a squared. Okay, so what we've got is that's 18 squared minus 9 squared. So I'm just going to turn this into h squared, right? So b and h. Right, so what we've got is 18 squared, and then it's minus 9 squared. Again, these are all practice, okay? So what we've got is h squared is 243. That means, therefore, h equals a square root of 243, which 243 means that this size of h, i.e. the height of the triangle, is 11 points. Now is it asking you to how many decimal places? No, I'm just going to say 11 point, it's not even 11, it's 15.59 centimetres. Okay, so that height is 15.59. So hopefully at the end of the day, all your homework, right, it's all just using the same formula, but modifying it if you're actually having to calculate one of the shorter sides. Okay, so that's your Pythagoras theorem homework. Hopefully it helped.